Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the DeGrowthCure podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Wilhelm, who is an SEO expert with over 20 plus years of experience. And he specifically works with dentists, and he has a lot of experience dealing with dentists in very high competition areas such as Los Angeles and even Beverly Hills. So this will be quite an interesting episode and good insights to hear from somebody that works in this field. So let's dive into the interview. Maybe the first thing to start off with, obviously, we've already talked for a while. I already know you, but maybe just to give the audience a bit of an introduction about yourself and your background.
Sure. I actually got to wet my fingers with the internet in 1995. That was really just after the launch of Windows 95 and the very first days of still having to dial up into things. Way back then, we developed an online learning system that taught me a lot how to work with the network. And gradually, I got more involved with websites. As websites became a popular thing to do. And of course, those were the days where you could still rank a website by just stuffing it with keywords. And then later on, maybe just add one or two links, no matter from where, as long as the links are there, and that all worked. But things have certainly changed a lot since then and becoming a very competitive market.
Yeah, exactly. As we've all been seeing, I think, especially since 2023 as well, things are changing rapidly. And I think maybe to start off with, obviously, when you've got experience with different industries, different types of clients, but I think specifically just because we're dealing with a lot of in these interviews that we're having with experts, we're dealing with a lot of the healthcare and health and wellness industries. And I think your experience with dental websites and dentists and clinics is particularly of interest. And what would you say, especially in recent years, and you've seen it like right from the start, you had the early days of Google, as you can see, but it was quite different. But what would you say in recent years are the things that you're seeing as the biggest challenges or the areas which just seem to be just not the same as they used to be, especially when it's competitive market?
I think the number one thing that stands out is that gradually authority or authoritativeness is becoming more and more important. I think a lot of the latest or the later Google algorithm updates had to do with establishing that what you're actually saying in your website is true, because there's a lot of garbage out there, as you very well know. And now with AI, that garbage is just increasing so much. So, and I think this is the one thing that we're going to see a lot of changes on in the future, is finding better ways, more ways to really filter what you're saying as truth, and that you have the education, the background, that you're an authority in the field to actually say those things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and again, I've seen that. We've seen that in a few industries. I think a lot of people from different industries are saying we're seeing that this push towards authority being a big brand and things like this. Specifically, obviously being in healthcare, maybe there's nuances that come into it and it's particularly challenging. But would you say with the dental industry, it's different, or something particularly which is you have to be really careful of, you know?
I have to say that I think about 90% of my time I've been spending in the dental industry. I do have a few clients outside of the dental industry, but let me not focus on them. Let me focus on the dental industry. And I think because a web presence is so important to a dentist, that leads to an absolute bombardment of snake oil being sold to those dentists by all the cheap guys that can do something in a few days, which and rank you number one for sure, guaranteed. Very lucrative offers out there. And I think that's one of the major challenges of actually breaking into the dental industry, is getting the dentist or getting the right dentist to actually trust you and start working with you in a partnership to actually grow his dentist.
That is true, especially with, I guess, the barrier for entry for SEO. There's so many people in the SEO industry. I think that doesn't help as well. I think knowing like how difficult it is to break into the industry to get clients, and I imagine the kind of dentists that you've worked with, just for everybody's benefit, we're talking the high end of the industry. So these are like top cosmetic procedures. They're not cheap. This is like really high end stuff. Veneers and clinics that are dealing with that side of things. Is there anything particularly you would say when it comes to local SEO or like basically trying to drive actual inquiries and leads? I think this is one of the big things with SEO is a lot of people out there promising things and promising traffic and things like this, but they skip the like, how do we turn this into actual patients? Is that side of it that's challenging, or how do you get them towards that kind of thinking? If I keep doing this, we'll eventually get ROI. But of course, it's not as easy as that as well.
First, I want to comment on the local SEO versus SEO. And there's only one thing, and that is SEO. I think this is one of the disadvantages or the incorrect messages being sent out there. And dentists believe, I need somebody to do my local SEO and I need somebody to do my SEO. These two things will absolutely hand in hand. That should be the same person that is focused on finding maximum exposure for a dentist and make sure he gets found for his top keywords out there. And whether it's on the local side or on the website, organic side, it is the same thing. And that would be a good thing if a dentist would just start at that point. But again, with all the offers going around, you find that forever, biting into somebody's offer, and it becomes negative in the end and harms the overall process by doing that.
That's an interesting point, because I think the other side of it as well, and this is going outside of SEO, but I know you have experience in this area as well, is, for instance, when a dental clinic or a practice works on the website, and they should really be making the website or developing it in a way where it's suitable for SEO. I know I've certainly seen it in other industries as well, where they've made the website, but they've not realized that they've created it in a way where it's like it's going to become difficult. But it could be for any number of reasons. I've seen all sorts of issues there. But do you see that much in the dental industry? And
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. The ideal starting point would be with no website, and that we actually work together with the dentist to design and develop his website. Because, respectfully, I have to say, that happens so much that they engage with a graphic designer and get the design done, and then start adding content, and then expect the whole thing to work. And invariably, you have to go and break whatever they've done and start all over. So start with a clean slate. Start with the structure of the structure of your website. Define the key areas that you want to rank for eventually, and where you believe you will find your clients. That becomes the main structure of your website. And then start adding topical pages to that in a silo type of manner. Okay? And this is a long process, but you will reap the rewards of doing it the slow and long way.
And I don't know if you've also seen this, but especially with something like with the dental industry and anything where my background's pharmacy, so I don't mean this in a negative way, but sometimes with pharmacy, it's a very traditional industry. So there is going to be not a lot of education about SEO, and it's not something a lot of practice owners or pharmacists or dentists, whoever they might be, are really thinking about. It comes after that, after they've done it. But I think on top of that, do you find, I guess going into maybe another area is when it comes to, as well as the website sometimes being an afterthought, sometimes when it comes to content, it's that education in the industry around, I've got a website, but how are we going to get the traffic, and what's the role that content plays? Sometimes you can't wave a magic wand and get loads of traffic to the website. Content comes into it, but I'd be interested.
In other words, the old days of just build it and they will come, those days are no longer there. Actually, they've never been there. So yes, of course, content. In a cluttered market with just so many dentists and so many prime top keywords, how many websites can be found for best dentist Beverly Hills? Exactly one, or maybe three if you want to be in the top three. So how do you create content for that? Again, this is where the authority comes in. But steer away from generic content. The ideal situation, once again, is that the dentist himself starts at least drafting the outline of what he wants to say. Let it be his voice and his ideas, because the website really just becomes an extension of who he is. And people come to the dentist not because he's a dentist, but because of what he's done and what he can do for them. And that should be reflected in their website. And that's how to differentiate. Once that content is out there, we have to add some authority to it and get some links going, get more and more exposure going, because the name of the game is be seen everywhere.
Definitely. And I think the interesting thing is also when it comes to creating content, it is interesting what you said, because I think in maybe way back, people would always think, I'm going to do SEO. Let's just do some content. And then it was seen as let's SEO everything. Let's just get content out for the sake of SEO. Whereas now, I think, would you agree, it's moving in the direction of it's not just don't just chuck any old content. It's about, is this content valuable? Is it, as you said, it's got expertise in it? I imagine, especially with the dental industry, with healthcare, it's increasingly becoming more important. But I guess, how about, I think, any more thoughts on content, or even not just blog posts in terms of other forms of content, be it YouTube? Do you see this as an important part?
What's worked particularly well for me, and I believe it will work very well everywhere, is I got my dentist, the dentist I've been working for a long time. By the way, I've been working for this one single dentist for more than 15 years. And is getting him to write up the case studies as they come in. A person came in and explained, these are my problems. I've got an overbite, or I've got skewed teeth, and I need cosmetic dentistry. So there's the keyword cosmetic dentistry in there, etc. And start writing up the words of the patient. Do an interview of the patient, make a little video, post the video on YouTube, and do some really great before and after pictures, and let the patient give you the permission to actually use full face photos on their web, and that makes the difference. Yeah, dental websites are just a bunch of pictures of teeth. We don't want that. We want to see the full face, because that is the effect, the overall effect that really matters to people. The amount of calls he got from this, people would call and say, on this page of a website, that and that picture, that's what I look like, and that's what I want you to do for me. Can you do this for me? That worked fantastic.
That's interesting, actually, and I agree with you purely just because, being a patient myself way back, if I think back, that was probably what actually it was the same for me. I had to get, I think it was lingual braces at one point, and funnily enough, I found it was it wasn't very local, but it was not too far away from me, but I picked the dentist because of that. So I understand. I think you're exactly right. I think that is, yeah.
Yeah, and there are lots of patients out there. They wake up in the morning and they look at themselves in the mirror and say, my teeth are skewed and I need this fixed. But they don't have an idea. Do you need some bonding done to fix a few small flaws? Do you need porcelain veneers? Do you need braces? What is it that you need? So all they know is, I have a problem and I don't like the look of my teeth. My teeth are too small, too big, whatever the case would be. And that is what we need to put on the web, because that's what other people will search for.
Exactly, it's that. I guess that's where content comes in, and especially with the dental industry, it's very visual, as you said. So
Yes.
it becomes increasingly important. I also read, if you've dealt with YouTube as well, and you've helped, I think, one practice that they had a lot of success with YouTube. How do you think video marketing kind of ties in with the dental industry? How does it tie in with SEO, if at all? And yeah, just how important is that? What should people be doing in terms of best practice?
Video is your evergreen source of content, our evergreen source of leads to your website. And it doesn't fade, doesn't age. It's not short snippets of social media interactions. And it's not content in a web that gets dated. It is visual. Okay, it remains. And there's nothing like YouTube videos. Okay, and don't just have one, have many YouTube videos. Grow your YouTube channel from the word go. No video is insignificant. You might think nobody's going to watch this video, but surprisingly, there are always viewers. And if you just link these videos in the correct order together, you start building traffic in a very quick way.
Definitely. And I think the interesting thing is, especially as we said before, about the way Google is changing, and especially since 2023, there's this drive towards, I think you talked about authority being a brand. And it's like one of those things that marks a good brand in terms of you should be on social media as well. You should be on YouTube. So it all makes sense. It's if you're going to be doing this, you want to appear as a brand. Do you think for the dental industry, other channels are important as
Okay.
well as that?
Yeah. Are other channels important? This is forever changing. And I forever have requests saying, can you do social media marketing for me? That's by far too broad. There is no such a thing as social media marketing. There is something called TikTok marketing and Instagram marketing and Facebook marketing. So you have to focus on one of two channels that you want to get exposure in. And right now, I think that the hot ones would be Instagram and TikTok. And it's an underestimated outlet that, or exposure that you can have, especially TikTok. It takes something to do decent TikTok videos. But if you can crack it, and I can't, I haven't tried that. I think I'm over my prime to get involved in TikTok right now. But yeah, that I'd recommend go that way.
Yeah. I've even seen some brands in the healthcare space, more so aesthetics, because I've dealt with them in the past. Sometimes even in-house, they would get the staff involved in the TikTok marketing and when they're doing a treatment, things like that. So I can imagine
Yes.
maybe getting people involved in-house or bring an expert in for certain strategy or things like that.
Not only would that be good for the actual video, but it's also good for your staff. They also need a little bit of recognition of what is happening out there. And there's a reluctance sometimes to do it because of staff turnover. But it's a good idea to bring outside people into a video. It's a great idea to do. Be interesting and be real.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't make videos for the sake of making a video. Just share what is happening in your practice.
Exactly. You don't want to take the old low quality SEO content approach and then bring it into social media. That's like you want to avoid that.
Right.
And I guess going back into the nitty gritty of SEO, I guess we can say, when you're dealing with a website, let's say a dental clinic comes to you, could be somebody established, could be somebody that's fairly new. They've just opened maybe a small chain of dental clinics, whatever it might be. What would you say tends to be the first areas you look at when, let's say, somebody comes to you, we're struggling with our SEO, we need to get it off the ground. What would you say are like the first areas you look at, or I guess the most common areas you tend to look at in most cases?
I always start with a technical audit. There are some errors sneaking in there that might seem insignificant because they're not visual on your website. But the Google bots or the whatever bot is crawling your site, they see those things. Whether it's something as simple as broken links or page speed, for instance, or the fact that you are targeting targeting multiple pages on your website with the same keyword. Those are the things that trip Google up, the indexing up. And so get rid of every possible error that's out there and then start working on the SEO side.
And do you tend to find, and sometimes with different industries, there's nuances. Sometimes you tend to find they struggle with a certain thing more than others. With the dental industry, I imagine because of, I just imagine this, I don't know if this is an issue, but maybe because it's very visual, do you see a lot of websites that are just filled with images, perhaps, or I guess any common mistakes that you think tend to happen in the industry?
No, I don't see the images problem so much. And you might recall the old flash problem that we had in the older days, flash images. I don't see that anymore. What I do see is templates, just the absolute abuse of 10 templates, and not just that. And then the same content gets posted over and over again, and maybe optimized a bit or changed a bit with AI, but it's the same content. It's a bland story over and over again. Get rid of those things. Don't fall into the trap of pre-built websites.
So duplicate content and AI, heavy AI usage tends to be the thing to be careful of.
Exactly. And standard offer, again, from the mass SEO marketers out there, will write 1 or 2 blogs per month for your website. Okay? And you go and look at that blog topic, and then go and search for that same topic. And you can find the same blog topics are covered through the entire network of Yeah, it's easy to spot with an agency. They keep on reusing the same topic on all their client sites. And not just that, they have the guys that write the blogs have, they pay no attention to what keyword you're actually trying to target with your blog. Remember the basic principle, one blog or one page is called one keyword. Yeah, you get spin-offs of the variations of a keyword, but don't try and target many keywords on the same page or the same piece of content.
I can imagine that's something I have seen. It's a kind of approach, just truckloads of keywords in, and that's what you want to avoid.
So part of the thing that we really need to do with taking on a new client and is cutting down on the number of pages that they have on their website. They might be overly in love with some of those pages, but if they don't produce traffic or if they don't contribute to the overall picture, cut them. And whether you re-index them or remove them or redirect them, just get rid of those pages that are meaningless on your website. And by meaningless for the overall search process, not necessarily meaningless for patients. Patients you can have as many pages as you want to, with as much duplicate content as you want to, but do not let those pages be indexed as well.
That's a good point, actually, because I imagine, especially with the clinic, they might have those types of pages where they just feel we really want that because it's useful for patients, and that is a good point. Write content or have pages for search engines, but that doesn't mean don't have things that speak to patients as well. And you can do a
Right.
bit of, sometimes you can solve both with the same page. Just depends what you're writing as well.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
And I guess going into kind of looking into the future now, how do you see, and I know you were saying SEO's changed a lot, and it is about authority and these other things that's maybe where link building comes in, that's where showing expertise might come in as well. But how do you think overall SEO is changing, especially for dentists, in the next, I guess, this year? I can say 5 years, but to be honest, we don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years.
Right.
Let's not think that far ahead. But again, what do you think is it? Where are we going? What direction are we going in, and what should we be doing now to stay ahead of the game? Essentially.
I think the entire concept of trying to rank or position out there is going to go out the window, and ranking is going to go away. I think more, and of course, as AI is really taking over, the most important thing is going to make sure that an AI bot can understand what it is that you're trying to say out there. So it means you need to be very detailed in the way that you write the information out there, and you need to get your information exposed in as many as possible places, because AI will pick up on these things. And I think that exposure is going to be the big thing, not ranking.
Okay, that's interesting because, and I get what you're saying. A lot of people are now looking into this, things like AI tools, ChatGPT. People are now trying to rank to get into the LLMs or the AI tools, which I don't know if anyone's completely figured it out, but I know a
No.
lot of people are trying. But let's imagine we wanted to eventually get in there. We want to be, as you said, get so much exposure. We want to, yeah, just try and maximize our chances of people finding us. Like you said, rankings could go out the window, and it becomes less about I want to rank this number for this keyword, and then sometimes it's not gonna be as simple as that. How do you think brands can get that exposure? What should they do? Or that's maybe not there's not one thing you can really do.
You have to. I really can't answer that question directly, but I do know that as much as important it is to get your content to be seen out there, you need to tie your authority to your content, because AI bots will want to know that we rate this content, is it authoritative? The so-called EAT signals, that's going to be the biggest thing in the future. I think that is what Google is going to be focused on more than anything else. And that becomes essential, because they do need to get rid of a lot of the scrap information on the internet. And then, of course, attribute the correct information to the authoritative person.
That's an interesting point, because I think there's been a few, I guess, debates in the SEO industry about what is going to be the most important ranking factor. And there's a lot of people in the boat of it's just going to be about content, and just write really good content, and that's what's going to get you there. Some people are a bit like, now I'm biased because I'm a link building guy. Some people will say it's going to be about links. Some people would say links are going to go away because you won't need them because nobody will click on anything. There's all kinds of theories going about. What do you think, as somebody who's I guess impartial? You're the expert. You're not loyal to any one side. What would you say is the potentially the direction where we're going? Do you think anything will lose importance, or is it a
I think link building is going to be actually more important if I can pick up on the link building. But link building might be viewed in a bit of a different way. Right now, I rely on, thank you to the great work that you've been doing. That really helps
thanks?
me a lot. But so I rely on the fact that I'll get some authority from the site on which you place my link be passed to my website. I think that's going to go away. I think that the link becomes important to actually contribute to the authority of who I am as opposed to the authority of my website. You, in building your link, you're actually endorsing that I am who I said I am, and you put me on a platform as opposed to my website on a platform. If that makes sense to you?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think essentially it's almost becoming more. It's almost like a more human signal in a way, if that makes sense. Because I think
Exactly.
the argument for it just being about content, and again, I'm biased, I'm a link building guy, but I believe content is really important. I've always believed that it will always be, you need to have good quality content, but I feel like you'll always need some other type of signal. I don't think Google can just go on that. And that's maybe where links, PR, maybe being mentioned in the right media publications, maybe to some extent other websites mentioning you, people in the local area, being in communities, maybe. There's all these types of things that tie in with it. I think I can't see into the future, but I think, yeah, we're there. I think we have an idea what's going on, and I think I agree with you.
Let's check back in 5 years.
Let's check that's true. Yeah, unless an AI might be doing the podcast by that point, but hopefully not.
I
Um,
doubt it. I doubt
but
it.
say if let's say there's somebody with a dental clinic watching, and I'm sure there will be. I think a few have messaged me in recent times. So I'm sure they'll be watching. What do you think they should be doing to make sure they're doing SEO which attracts? And some of it we've already covered, but to make sure that they're attracting patients with their SEO, because I know there's always this thing of I can do SEO, I can get traffic, but how do I ensure I'm going to be able to turn this into patients, to actual people? What would you say is like the thing that you need to be careful of, or mistakes to avoid? If
Going to come back to again by build your site perfectly correct according to Google's guidelines. Don't fall into the trap of trying to find quick and nasty and easy ways of getting traffic. Because as I said before, I've seen those things actually start counting against you, not for you. The old saying about when is the best time to plant an oak tree? 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Get your website in order today. Get it technically sound and keep it sound. SEO takes a lot of ongoing, almost daily effort to keep it fresh. And this is something that dentists don't understand because they don't always see the visual changes of what you've been doing. But whether whether you're just tinkering on title tags or meta descriptions or whatever, you have to make sure that it remains fresh. And really, SEO today comes down to not looking at your ranking. It has to do with looking who is ahead of you, ranking for the same keywords that you're trying to target, and then see what are they doing different to what you are doing, and then improve on that. And you keep on doing this over and over again. You will get the clicks and you will get the rewards. And that is the way to make sure that patients will actually end up in your practice. I might be
okay.
missing some things. That is the way I see it.
Well, no, that's a great answer. I think it's mindful to be aware of all of these things. I think and like you said, I think you touched on the fact there are a lot of people in the SEO industry offering all types of solutions. And sometimes it's, what's the old adage of, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. And I think, and I guess one of the last things to finish up on is maybe just in general, for aside from just the dental industry, just general somebody in the health space, healthcare space, or in the wellness space. Let's say they want to improve their online presence, and it could be to do with SEO, could be to do with something else. What do you think? What would be your one piece of advice that you'd say this is the first thing, or this is one of the biggest things you'd be thinking about if you want to improve your online presence?
Focus more on visual, focus more on YouTube, focus more on on real life images of what it is that you are doing, and don't focus so much on the content. That being said, you have to have the content out there as well. But yeah, right now, if I would recommend, don't start with a website, start with a YouTube channel.
That's good. Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of those things. It's the whole omni-channel approach. I think SEO is important, but I think I've increasingly realized for the past couple of years, it's not all just about SEO. We need to be doing other
Right.
things. We need to, for some businesses, it might just be doing some things offline as well. Maybe that's important. Just depends what you're trying to do, what your product is, and what you're trying to do with your brand. Um,
Don't forget to rinse and repeat. Check, and you have to be able to measure. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Measure whatever you're doing. And those things that work, keep on repeating them. Rinse them, repeat them. Is what works.
that is true. That's true. And be patient. I think one of that, especially when it
Oh,
comes to
yes.
SEO. Yeah,
Don't believe it's going to just take a day. Yeah, whatever you do in SEO typically takes about 6 months for you to see the rewards of what you're doing. If you do it right, the rewards are fantastic. Okay, not just great, fantastic. And
exactly.
I actually see more and more people, more and more dentists getting out of the pay-per-click space because the paid keywords are becoming horrifically expensive. And they realize you get out of the pay-per-click space, invest in your organic growth, and rather put your money into that, because that gives better rewards than pay-per-click today, in my opinion. It's
That's
just my,
another.
and that's just my opinion.
Yeah. But another great piece of advice, I think anyone watching that's one of those very key if you feel like you're spending too much on pay per click. And but I've heard from people from different industries feeling the same. They're just putting a lot of money into it, and you need to at least be trying to grow your organic. It's not gonna.
Exactly.
Uh,
The pay-per-click, you turn off your campaign, all your traffic goes away. Everything you had goes away. Organic really has a measure of evergreen if you keep it going. Video remains evergreen with very little effort. Just get into video.
Definitely. Wilhelm, I think thanks again for all that advice. Really appreciate it. Some great advice there. If anyone was watching this, make sure you watch it back just to make sure you got everything, because I think a lot of great advice there, whether you're in the dental industry, maybe you're in a different space, you're in the healthcare industry. I think there's a lot of things there for to dig into and learn more about. But Wilhelm, thanks for your time. And yeah, and hope you enjoyed the interview as well.
Let me just say this. If anybody wants a good link building guy, you're looking at him right now. He did
Thanks very
a
much.
fantastic job. Okay. And I had to go and search long and hard to find somebody that I can truly trust with link building. And I am not disappointed in any way. And I feel the same way. How do you get found for your expertise? Or how do I find clients? I want my clients to find me rather than I'm finding them. No, I'm saying that wrong. Don't click on those ads in your inbox. Go and do your own homework and find your expertise. Yeah, that's the
Perfect.
point.
Thanks for the kind words, Wilhelm. Again, same for me as well. I think if you're looking for an ACO expert, if you want any advice, make sure to follow Wilhelm as well. For somebody who's dealt with some of the top dentists in the US, he's the guy to go to. So anyone in Beverly Hills, you know who to call. But Wilhelm, thanks for your time, and yeah, and thanks again to all the viewers.